Welcome back, everybody. As you can tell, I'm not in my normal studio setup. As you can tell, the sound audio quality might sound a little different. I'm using my AirPods here. So bear with me. I'm traveling for work right now. So I'm in a hotel room, got AirPods in. So again, please bear with me with the audio and everything. But I want to get on here to talk about Jim Cramer and some of the noise and FUD and just the misunderstanding of Tesla and when it comes to AI. And I want to just try to clear some stuff up. With that said, there are a lot of things I do agree with uh, as far as what Jim Cramer is saying within the AI space. So, I will give him, his kudos on that, give him his flowers when it comes to that. But I think he is grossly misunderstanding Tesla and what they're doing with AI. So today we're gonna review this. I'm gonna give you my opinion on this take because this is a take that I think is perpetuated throughout, the entire industry, the entire market, all of Wall Street. And I think they're grossly misinformed and they have the same type of rhetoric that Jim has. So I want to talk about it. I want to dispel the misconceptions and I want to explain a lot of this away. At the same time, I want to show you where I do agree with him, where I do see this pervasive overhype, over marketing, kind of bubble type mentality when it comes to AI. All right, before we get into it, oh yeah, obviously subscribe, like, do all those good things. But before we get into it, what I really want to say is I started the Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson. So far, it is riveting. I think I'm on chapter 22, 23. Luckily, I've been traveling all day, so I've had time to really dive into this, but it's definitely riveting. Really curious to see what you guys think about it so far. All right. Like I said, I want to dive into this. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Make sure you guys can see it. Let's make it a little bigger. How about we do that? All right. Let's go ahead and hit play here and let's get into it.
I have to tell you, it's a big reason why I'm out here in San Francisco at Dreamforce, the Salesforce conference. It's actually currently billing itself as the world's largest artificial intelligence festival. I have to find out when companies will finally stop rolling out these endless "we've got AI" stories to prop up their stocks. When I saw the GoPro goat on the surfboard, I called the top. I'm prepared to do the same thing with AI if I have to, because the AI promotion machine may have gone haywire. Well, my antennae first went up when I heard about how Coca-Cola is launching a new drink that's co-developed with artificial intelligence. The Y3000 could be coming this month. Hey, maybe it tastes great. But when you see AI hype from Coca-Cola, it tells you maybe we're running out of legitimate use cases because this is not a consumer-oriented technology. Now,
Okay. So let me stop there for a second because I want to tell you where I agree with what he's saying. First of all, there is an overhype when it comes to AI. The truth is, when it comes to AI, it's become this buzzword, this marketing word, this bubble mentality that everybody seems to have the need to talk about AI left and right. If you're not saying AI, if you're not saying it 15, 20, 30 times on a conference call, if it's not part of your marketing campaign, well, then frankly, what are you doing? Right? That's become the mentality to the point to what Jim is saying. Even Coca-Cola is now doing things with AI. So what what is the truth here? Okay. The truth here is that a lot of the world, the Wall Street, the mainstream media has had their imaginations and the art of the possibilities, the art of the what can be has presented itself to them through OpenAI's ChatGPT. The problem is a lot of these companies are kind of putting the cart before the horse. So what I've noticed is that we're not really seeing a lot of meaningful things, solutions for enterprises when it comes to AI. Sure, you can have a chatbot here and there, but I don't know how meaningful that is. The places where I'm seeing at least Gen AI really have impact in the market right now are in things like chatbots, are in call centers, are in assistance when developing and coding. So those are good areas. I think you're going to see it more and more in security, right? To be able to threat prevent and find certain signals, to be able to coalesce different tooling, different services to try to figure out what possible signals there are. Right, that's up and coming, but you're not seeing it really proliferate in the way that I think a lot of people think about when they hear Gen AI. And so what's happening is every company wants to have a story to say when it comes to Gen AI. And really, it's getting overhyped the way Jim's saying. I 100% agree, right? The fact that now even Coke is talking about it. Listen, the truth is, a lot of these methodologies have existed for a long, long time. For Tesla investors, you know that this isn't really new, right? We've been talking about neural nets for a long, long time. LLMs are honestly like a very, very small portion of what's really happening when it comes to neural nets, happening to these large models. And in my opinion, to be honest, like if you put Tesla to the side, the real place to be is as a Lego blocks to this revolution, right? Like what all of these companies are going to try to productize or whatnot, what they're going to build upon. So we'll talk about that in a second here in a little more detail, is where I see things going. But I just want to give him his kudos. I think he's right up to this point. So let's continue.
I'll never argue, as you know, with Jensen Huang. He's the CEO of NVIDIA, the godfather of AI. But when he told me that this is an iPhone moment, he was talking about how AI could allow businesses to save massive amounts of money. It's not about trying to hook the consumer on anything. Plus, it's not like everyone can use AI, something we've heard repeatedly from Snowflake's Frank Slootman, who we'll hear from later tonight. He's a hardcore business person. Unless there's a return on investment that's tangible and visible, generative AI may not be all that valuable.
Okay. So again, this is where I agree with him. All right. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Gen AI can be very useful for the developer. It can be very useful in cybersecurity. It can be very useful in call centers, right? It's essentially going to be useful for these companies and for them to be more efficient internally. It's not really going to be productized out to the world. Jim's spot on with that, except for Tesla. Because with Tesla right now, maybe not Gen AI as they're talking about it, where they're really just talking about these large language models. But with Tesla, I can go out there and have my car drive itself right now. Doesn't mean it's 100% perfect, but the point is, as a consumer, I can use it now. This is why I'm so bullish on Tesla. This is why Tesla is just obviously the leader in AI, because they are the only company that is truly productizing this. Now, with that said, obviously you have OpenAI, you have ChatGPT, but really that's kind of the extent of what you're seeing. There are some like little other things on the fringes, like being able to translate certain videos. You see that with Assembly AI, doing some cool stuff there, but really that stuff's on the fringes. So I think really it's Tesla, and then everybody else who's playing this field is really going to be about making enterprises more efficient. So again, up to this point with Cramer, I'm in agreement.
I'm beginning to believe that a lot of companies have embraced AI for show. And if they can't deliver real return, the hype will peak. And the whole notion of AI as a transformative business to consumer will fizzle. So the stocks of companies that push that story will fizzle with it. So we need to
Okay, again, up to this point, I'm in agreement with him. Here's where we probably start to diverge.
listen closely to Frank about how bullish he is. I know Frank, he's not giving a hype. Let's let Snowflake tell us if it's been too much being made about AI. Maybe it's just unbelievable for the enterprise, but we can't see how great it is at home. Dreamforce may be the true test. Lots of companies here certainly want to embrace generative AI simply because it can save costs in the call center and the coding process. Remember, if you use large language models where you can simply ask a computer something without coding, you got a winner. As George Kurtz from CrowdStrike told us, you can quiz your own computer about cyber threats and it'll tell you about them. Nikesh Arora, CEO of Palo Alto, says the same thing about suffusing his business with AI. It makes sense.
He's right about cyber threats to an extent. He's wrong about coding. There's been plenty of studies on this. At this point where we're at right now, it's an accelerator to someone who's developing. It's not going to replace the developer right now. So I just want to clarify that. I think that's just a sign of he's saying things without truly knowing what's actually happening out there in the real world.
Sense for cybersecurity. Any trick to stop the bad guys is a winner. So I'm not saying that AI isn't huge. I'm sure it'll be a very big deal. I know NVIDIA has demonstrated how it can cut costs in the biggest market in the world, the building of factories. Just designing these things more efficiently can save companies' fortunes. I know that Snowflake's customers like Capital One or any of the auto insurance companies or auto finance companies can use AI to make sure they're offering the best prices within a few basis points. Gigantic numbers for them, just gigantic. But the idea of endlessly taking up stocks because companies claim they're embracing artificial intelligence, I'm starting to think it's silly. Look, we own Meta Platforms for the charitable trust. I own it forever. And I'm happy to see them working with NVIDIA to get in front of ChatGPT. The stock moved gigantically on this story, though. Here's the problem. I broke that story in November of 2021 when I went to NVIDIA. That's when I broke it. They've had a deep relationship with Meta to do exactly what was written about in the paper today. Nothing truly new here. That's what I'm talking about. That's over-enthusiastic stock versus reality of business. Now, even with
Again, here's where I disagree with him. Just because I don't want to say you broke a story, right? Just because you had an interview where you learned that what Facebook or Meta is doing with NVIDIA, and now people are learning more about it, it's because they're actually putting things out there. They're actually open sourcing some stuff because they're actually showing, progress of what they're building. So again, this is where Jim is trying to take, oh, I've been right? He gives his GoPro example. He talks about, oh, I knew about this back then, right? He likes to do this thing where he'll take the things that he was right about and act as if he has been right all along about everything, right? He doesn't tend to call out when he has his misses. And the truth is, there's a reason why there's like the Cramer effect, right? Where everybody on X will blow him up saying, oh, no, Cramer said, this stock's going to go up. And, people normally, it's like the Cramer kiss of death, right? And the reason for that is because he actually doesn't tend to be right more often than wrong. So again, he's missing the point here, but let's continue.
without artificial intelligence, I think tech's undervalued here. One reason the group rallied so hard today. We're beginning to see higher corporate tech spending, something Snowflake just flagged on his conference call last month. I also think the negative Apple narrative from China is getting baked in. More on that later. The story about AI that really has me steamed or stunned, whatever, is the one from Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas, who upgraded Tesla from hold to buy because he says Tesla could be a tech company. And if it can tap its own super brain Dojo, yes, Dojo, that's it, right? Then it could be like Amazon Web Services. And they're
Okay, so first of all, Tesla is a tech company. That's why so many people want to buy Teslas, because it is a tech company. And this is the second time he's talked about Dojo as the brain. He is missing it. Dojo is a supercomputer. The computer itself isn't the brain, right? The computer is the hardware. The brain is in the software. It's the neural nets, right? It's the data feed that's going in, the weights, the biases, the parameters are set for these neural nets. That is the brain, not the actual computer. The computer itself, Dojo itself, it's nothing. It's just hardware. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything unless you have data input it into neural, right? Like this is where he doesn't understand what he's talking about, and it just frustrates me.
therefore the company could be worth $500 billion more than its current valuation because of Dojo. Look, I like Adam Jonas, but he missed the entire run in Tesla that came from being a car company. Maybe he's just getting ahead of the next leg higher as a supercomputer company.
Okay, so again, this is where Jim Cramer likes to throw shade at other people and doesn't admit when he's been wrong. Jim Cramer has been against Tesla for a while now. Jim Cramer has missed the last 150% rally in Tesla. Jim Cramer was wrong about Tesla when it IPO'd. Jim Cramer missed the whole run in Tesla. Now, to be fair, has Jim Cramer said that he thinks you should buy Tesla here and there? Yeah, he's had his windows, his pockets of saying that, but his pockets last like 3 or 4 months, and then he's against Tesla all over again, right? So for him to cast shade on at least Adam Jonas did his research. At least he understands what Dojo is. And yes, the potential, it's not just Dojo. This is the other thing. It's not just Dojo. The point is, once Tesla gets to a point where FSD is more or less solved, right? It's just going to be about iterating. The point is, they're going to have all this excess compute that they're going to be able to rent out space within that compute, because that compute could be aggregated as one big cluster, or multiple clusters are carved up in the pieces where they can rent that out to other companies that are looking to train. What's so special about Dojo specifically is that it is purpose built. The architecture of the hardware is purpose built for this type of training. The point is, with the NVIDIA clusters, you could actually use that for a variety of different use cases. Dojo is a very serial operation based platform. The NVIDIA is, even though they will say that these chips are made for XYZ ability, they have there are still multiple lanes that they can function in, right? They have parallel abilities, whereas Dojo is really singular focused on training a certain type of way for a certain type of content, video stream, etc. So so that's the point. Okay, this is why this could be a very very big deal.
That could possibly challenge Nvidia down the road. That's why Tesla stock went up 10% today, while Nvidia stock went down. I'm not convinced of it. Any company that needs to sort and process gigantic amounts of data will need artificial intelligence to stay ahead of its competitors. Any company that has a ton of expensive smart coders will find that they aren't as smart as a tower of NVIDIA's cards linked together. But I got to find this out with my own. I got to see it, okay?
Okay, again, this is where he's wrong. He just said that any tower of smart coders will figure out they're not smarter than a tower of NVIDIA chips. This is not how it works, right? The hardware is nothing without the input, all right? That's the big deal. He fundamentally doesn't understand. NVIDIA, I know we call it an AI company because all these AI companies are using their GPUs or really TPUs for processing, for training, for iteration, all that. But at the end of the day, they're a hardware company. That's what they are. Okay? It's no different than Apple. If Apple just had the phone, guess what? That phone itself is not the value of Apple. The value of Apple is in iOS. That's where the real value is. That's where all of the value is. It's not in the physical hardware. Is it beautiful? Is it elegant? Is it well designed? Yes, absolutely. Just like NVIDIA's H100 architecture, just like their soon to come Grace Hopper. Look, I'm a huge NVIDIA fan. Love NVIDIA. I know a lot about NVIDIA. I know that they are not an AI company in the way Tesla is. All right. And then he also said that Tesla's Dojos can replace Nvidia and whatever. That's not the intent. That again shows you his misunderstanding of this. He needs to go back. He needs to watch all of the AI days to get a better understanding. And even then, he's not going to understand. All right. I hardly understand. Right. We spent, I think, for the last AI, I think it was the last one with James Dalma, Dave Lee, myself. I think that there are a couple other people. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we spent like 3 hours just going through the whole presentation to understand, right? So this is where you have to do your homework, but at the same time, this is where we should be excited because this is the alpha where alpha's made. This is the delta between people like him who think they know but they don't, and people like us who are willing to be educated and learn.
I've come right here to see it. Right now, there are companies that can and will bring in revenue, especially to the consumer.
Kind of like Tesla, right? Right now with AI, Tesla will bring in revenue. Weird.
But I'm not saying that the consumer is the best use case himself or herself, because if anything, this is an enterprise story. I am saying the days when a company or an analyst thinks that AI must be bought and it brings a buy this stock conversation, that's peaking. Remember, today's tech strength was not based on AI, but on actual earnings per share, which is great news and a show of strength, just like when we heard that the ARM Holdings IPO.
All right. So that's pretty much the end of it. Okay. So look, I just want to go over this because I think it's really important for us to really be intellectually honest with what's happening right now. Okay. I'm not sitting here saying that Tesla has solved all things. I'm not sitting here telling you that tomorrow we're going to be a $10 trillion company. What I am here to tell you is that right now, Tesla is miles, Tesla is more than miles. Tesla is a whole planet ahead of everybody else. All right. And the proof of this is in the fact that they are actually profitable, making profit with their AI software, with FSD, right? We're seeing what they're doing. We see that they have V12 coming up that's end to end. Their prowess is unparalleled right now. They have they are the company spending the most on compute, building out the most compute, where Nvidia can't even keep up with them to a point where they had to go make their own architecture, build their own chips, and they're deploying that at the same time as they're deploying NVIDIA H100 servers, right? Like, this is insane. And on top of that, they have, when it comes to AI, you can talk to anybody, right? This isn't just Nick being biased here. You can talk to anybody. The name of the game with any of these neural nets, any of these foundation models, with any of these LLMs, it's all about data. And it's not just data, it's quality data. Nobody else has the ability to get as much real world data input as Tesla does. So this is where Jim Cramer just doesn't understand, right? So this is kind of a little bit of a follow-up to my video yesterday. I had a little moment where I talked about Jim Cramer, and I thought I would let it go, but then I saw this morning, and I was like, all right, we got to address this, because this is something that's pervasive throughout Wall Street right now, where people don't seem to understand. People keep saying Tesla's not a tech company; they're just a car company. Look, that's utter BS. That's utter BS. That's like saying Apple is not a tech company; they're just a phone company, right? That that's idiotic. That's like saying Nvidia is not a tech company; they're just a hardware company. Like, this stuff doesn't make sense. Look, these are tech companies. Tesla is the definition of a tech company, right? If they have their own, why? If they're not a tech company, then why do they have so much compute? Why were they the first or second largest buyers of NVIDIA's top H100 chips this last quarter? Why is that? Explain that to me. If they're not a tech company, then why is it they're going to have a cluster of 10,000 H100 GPUs? Listen, that may not sound like, you may not know how to quantify that in your head, right? You may not be familiar with what that means. Let me put it to you this way: to tie together 100 nodes, right? Which, think of like a node as a server, right? Like a 2U server, two units of rack space. To tie 100 of those together takes extreme engineering, from the networking to the back end data transfer to the power to the cooling to all of it. And they're doing 10,000 H100s, right? Like, that's insane. So that's, if you take that into a node perspective, I just got done telling you 100 is extremely difficult, right? There's about 8 H100 chips in each one of these NVIDIA nodes, all right, or that they're putting in. So if they're doing 10,000, right, that just easy math, that's about 800, right? That's 800. I hope that's good math, but call it 800. No, that's horrible math. Sorry, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But it's about 800 to 1,000 nodes that they're tying together. I'm telling you right now, the it's it's insanity. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start, right? Just the networking for all of that. He was talking about how they only have about 2 nodes per rack, because they take so much power and there's so much heat that's given off. So if you're not aware, whenever you're building out a data center, you have what's called a hot aisle and a cold aisle. And the hot aisle is the back of it, right, where all the heat's essentially getting pushed out. And then you have a cold aisle, which is where you have, essentially really cold AC blowing that gets sucked in, because you want to keep everything cool, right? You want to wick away that heat. They're doing all of this, and they have the audacity to say they're not a tech company, they're not an AI company. Again, all I can say is that this is where the opportunity is in my book. None of this financial advice, but it just seems so freaking obvious to me. So obvious. I don't see anyone else in sight. And trust me, I'm in this industry. I'm looking all the time. And it baffles me. It baffles me to see how nobody is even remotely close. As I read this book, this biography with Elon, it's just it's just reinforcing, you know, my investment in Tesla. It's reinforcing the fact that this man, Elon, he sees things before other people do. He makes the impossible happen, and he's a absolute genius when it comes to putting teams together, to pushing people, and really leading. You know, I think people rally behind him and the cause, and it's just showing here. And the doubters have been there all along the way. That's what we're learning in this book. And again, I'm only in chapter 22, so honestly, I'm like really not even that far into it, but it's just showing you that the haters are there, the deniers are there all along the way, and we're just going to keep having them. But what this book has shown up to this point, and we kind of know what the rest of the story is, but all those doubters, all those naysayers are wrong. They've been wrong. They get proven wrong time and time again. So I'll leave it there. I'm going to work on getting these videos shorter. Promise you, I'm just getting back into this, so it's going to take me a little bit. But I thought it was important to try to make this one good here and detailed. So all right, we're gonna leave it there. Love you all. Peace.